Fox News host Sean Hannity says he wants to see Social Security eliminated. He admitted this on his radio show. Take a listen.
Social Security is the most expensive program of the federal government. Now, they've let it become like a Ponzi scheme. I think it was Galveston, Texas, that once opted out of the Social Security system, and they did infinitely better on their own without the federal government. Remember, you could work your whole life. They're going to either means test it in the end, or they're going to, raise the age of eligibility pretty much to the day before you're destined to croak. But anyway, it accounts for about 25% of every dollar that Washington spends. It is headed towards insolvency. The unfunded liabilities, how much money the government would need to make up the difference between the money that will be paid into Social Security in the future and benefits that have been promised. That number is $40 trillion. Williamson writes that that's basically $40 trillion, all the money in the world, literally. All of the cash in circulation, all of the deposits in checking accounts and savings accounts adds up to about $40 trillion. That's a pretty big hole. We can't afford all of this. It's not going to work now.
So, all right, that right there is a pretty good case study and how they're going to use big numbers to scare people. Oh my God, $40 trillion. That is all the money in the entire world to go to Social Security without, of course, giving any context. You realize that we spend about, the country spends about $1 trillion, again, collected from taxes, already are all put in a trust fund, etc. That money, again, $1 trillion a year, that would be over the next 40 years. But they just say it. They just say it's like, oh, $40 trillion. Just like they're saying, we can't afford that $3.5 trillion. You realize that's over 10 years, right? That's over a very large period of time in which, of course, every year we'll be collecting taxes. So, anyway, it's ridiculous, okay? They don't give that context because they want to scare people with those big numbers and to make them think, oh my God, the $40 trillion, we're going to have to pay it right now. We don't have the money. We don't have the money. We do have the money in reality. Now, of course, we also have a lot of, look, the Pandora Papers just came out, right? And that's the accessory to the Panama Papers. It shows how a lot of these wealthy people are literally hiding their money overseas. Or in this case, a lot of people overseas in the Pandora Papers are hiding their money in the United States. The global elite is basically hiding everything from taxation. And so, and I wonder why they say we can't afford, we can't afford Social Security, which, by the way, does not add to the national debt. Social Security doesn't add a penny, or Medicare to the national debt. That is a lie. That is a fallacy, and it's used as a way to attempt to privatize it, and that's ultimately what they want. So now, again, on that, Hannity says, well, yeah, you can work your whole life, but they're going to take away your Social Security because it's a Ponzi scheme, right? Ironically, that's what they want you to do. They want you to work your entire life and not get anything back. I mean, for Hannity, you should just work till you die. That's what they believe. You should work till you die. Who needs retirement? You don't need retirement. I like retirement. And of course, this is a guy who sits and reads a teleprompter all day and makes $36 million a year doing it. You can tell, Sean Hannity, very soft man. Never worked a real job, a hard job in his life. Now, again, he's never did construction, never worked in a factory, never did any of that stuff. Now, I have. I have worked in a job that is physically demanding. A lot of us have. I spent most of my early adult life working in factories. I've worked in different places, welding hitch plates for vehicles, stringing up pontoon boats for rich assholes. I did that. We did that. All that kind of work destroys your body after a while. If you work there for 30, 40 years, you're not going to come out in very good shape because it is physically demanding. My grandpa, I know I'm using an anecdotal, story here, but He worked at a ball bearing plant for 40 plus years. You know what that does to your body after 40 years? He needs a new. He had to get a hip and a shoulder replaced. He's more machine than man now. That's what happens when you work those types of jobs. So that's why we need a retirement. That's why people should be able to retire at 60, 65, whatever. Because their bodies just can't hold up. And even if you don't work in those fields, by the way, I tend to believe that there is more to life than working till you die. I'm just saying. Oh, yeah, but Jeff, he does geriatric MMA. I'm glad you brought that up, Ravaging Wolverine, in the Twitch comments. He's a brown belt, and he practices 4 days a week. Oh, no! Ashley.
Oh, no!
Oh, I'm so scared of the brown belt. Sean Hannity. Come on. All right. Hey, you know what? Good on him, right? Because he's actually got the time and the ability to go and do martial arts. That's wonderful. You can do that? Why not? Great. But look, thing is, another thing, Sean Hannity obviously loves what he does because he gets paid very, very well. And so for work, for him, it's like work, but it actually isn't. And so I would wager that not a lot of people, obviously not a lot of people, get, do what Hannity does, obviously. And so, I think a lot of people, or tons of people, actually hate their jobs and can't wait to retire, and whether or not it destroys their body. And so Social Security is that guarantee of a retirement income. And so, so they can get money, so they can spend time with their family, so they can actually survive. But Hannity says, no, it's a Ponzi scheme. It's going broke. It's going broke. Well, guess what, Sean? I have a solution. It's real easy. See, the reason that the Social Security fund is running low is because you have, obviously, inflation. Now, of course, Social Security does raise how much they pay out because it is tied to inflation. He mentioned that in the show. But you, unfortunately, have a cap of how much you pay into it. So now, it was first established, you had a cap of I think, and I don't remember if the cap has been raised several times before, but it was 132. I think it was either 132 or $136,000 a year of a payroll cap. So meaning that if we all pay into Social Security, it comes out of our checks, and once you hit that cap, you don't have to pay anymore. So now, the maximum earnings subject to that has been changed. It's now $142,800. Okay, so now if you're making $36 million a year like Sean Hannity, you're going to hit that cap very quickly. So after you hit the cap, as I mentioned, you're not going to pay anything more into that. So that cap hasn't changed, I think, very significantly over the years, relative to, of course, maximum incomes and inflation. I don't think the people who actually put that cap in the first place imagined people making, billions of dollars a year like Jeff Bezos, or people even relatively poor people like the poor Sean Hannity with his $36 million, making that much money. And so, and also they probably didn't imagine cost of living being so incredibly high, for seniors, and of course for everybody. But here's the thing. Here's my solution, okay? Super, super simple stuff, okay? If you remove the cap, the system becomes solvent until the end of time. Just remove the cap. There you go. So instead of paying, $142,800, and then you're done the year, as soon as you hit that in like 1 or 2 months, if you're Sean Hannity, they just keep paying the same amount into Social Security every paycheck. That's it. Wow. And look, millionaires like Sean Hannity, you think he's going to miss that money? No. Oh, of course not. Now, a person who wants to retire on Social Security, guess what? That money's going to mean the world to them. Why? Because then they'll finally be able to retire, spend time with their family, do the things that they want to do, hobbies, if they're even able to after, 30, 40 years of working. And so, it actually to find some sort of comfort in value at the end of their lives, instead of course, continuing to work for a corporation that for their entire life has been already stealing the excess value of their labor. So one more thing, by the way, as I mentioned, that cost of Social Security, right? Now he said $40 trillion, right? Again, over the next 40 years. But this doesn't matter. The amount that it costs shouldn't actually matter. It doesn't matter to this conversation, doesn't matter to any conversation, really. Why? Because it's a vital service that is guaranteed for all American citizens. To retire in dignity, that is a service. It should not be treated as a program. It is a service. And by the way, it is a universal service. Even Sean Hannity will benefit from this. He'll get money back, and that's fine. Now, what he gets back, of course, will be peanuts compared to what he has already. But he's still going to get the money, and that's fine. That's the way the system is designed. That's why, by the way, it's incredibly popular. Social Security and Medicare are two of the most popular programs in the country. There's a reason, because everybody gets it. Once you hit, 55 or whatever, your retirement age, that's it. You will all get it. Everybody's eligible. And that's why the system, everybody pays in, everybody gets out. Everyone in, not everybody out. Okay? So that's why things like that work. And that's why it's so hard to get rid of. And that's why Republicans have to come up with, first, find a way to make it so that the fund will eventually run out of money by not raising the cap, by not doing the simplest fix, because it might affect their bottom lines and affect the ones of their donors. They don't want to pay anymore. They don't want to pay anymore. Oh, no, of course not. And so, again, they cannot stand the fact that other people benefit from Social Security. He is ideologically opposed to poor people getting money from the government after they retire. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.